On today's Mvskoke Gardening episode, we're going to talk about seed saving. I'm going to show you guys some of the seeds that we've been saving out here in our garden. I'll show you how you can tell when the seed is ready to be harvested and how to store it properly so that it germinates next summer. So as you can see, summer's coming to an end, unfortunately, and our garden is kind of also coming to an end. A lot of our summer crops are starting to produce a lot less and dry up. So before we pull all of our plants, we're gonna save seed from all of them so we can plant them next year. So I'll start with okra. This is a crimson okra, a red okra. As you can see, it's really tall, but it's also just starting to look sick and done. So I think it's ready to be pulled up and to harvest seed from. So when you're harvesting okra for seed, okra pods get really big really fast. So as you can see, this one right here, I've been leaving this one on the plant so that it dries out and we can collect seed from it. As you can see, it's brown, it's kind of crispy and hard. That means that it's ready to harvest. So I'm just gonna cut it off. And if you open it up and look inside, you can see all the okra seed ready to go. So it's important to let your fruit or your flowers dry on the plant. That's just going to ensure that your seed is mature and ready to be planted or ready to be stored for next year. So now we're at our herb bed. We grew a lot of basil, mint. We have some cilantro that's been done for a while back here. So we're also saving seed for these. Another intention that we have with our seed is to share some of our heirloom or our collected seed with Muscogee citizens or people in food deserts especially, so they can grow their own crops. We also have some like culturally significant plants that we're saving seed from that we also intend on sharing with the public. So whenever you're harvesting basil seeds, you'll want to look for these brown dried up seed pods again. See, I'll find a better one. So all of those are seeds. If you open it up, each one of these little flat circles has one seed inside of it. Let me see. If you open it up, it's a little black seed right there. That one had two. So when you harvest basil, I always just cut a few of these. A few of these is gonna have 60 plus seeds, which as you can see, basil, it's very abundant. The more you cut it, the more it's gonna produce. So you really don't need a whole lot of basil seed. I would say that's plenty to supply us for next season. I'll do the cilantro too. So our cilantro, I learned the hard way this season that cilantro is actually a cool season herb and not a summer herb. Our cilantro didn't last very long. It went to seed really fast. As you can see, it's completely done and dried. But each one of these is a cilantro seed. So we just cut a few of these little bundles off. You can even pull the seed off of the plant if you want. But those are good cilantro seeds. You can see these really pretty orange cosmos. One of my favorite things about growing from seed is the genetic diversity that you get. So even though you plant a bunch of different seeds and they're all the same plant, each seed is going to grow and it's all going to be a little bit different. So as you can see over here, these cosmos are like a bright solid orange, whereas these ones are like a striped yellowish orange. These came from the same seed pack and they're the same cosmo, but they just have a little bit of genetic variation. So that's something to keep in mind when you're collecting seed. I really like this striped one, so I want to make sure that I save seed from this one so that we have more like this next year. When you're harvesting cosmo seeds, they kind of do this little like starburst thing with their seeds so you know they're ready, kind of like this. each of these little spikes is a seed. So there's 3 good seeds right there. Let's see. Here's another good one also. So these are Day of the Dead marigolds that we grew out here. Marigolds are a great companion plant because they attract ladybugs and they'll help control your aphid population. One important thing to note when you're harvesting for seed is you obviously want to look for a dried up flower head. That's going to tell you that the seed inside is probably mature, but you also want to make sure that most of the stem is brown. If most of the stem is still green, the seed probably isn't mature enough yet, but because this one's so brown and the flower head is obviously dead and done, I'm going to cut it off. And if you open up flowers, you can just literally open them and try to get to the center. There we go. So every single one of those little hairy looking things is a seed. It's important to note whenever you're planting your seeds what they look like, just so you can kind of remember what to look for when you're collecting seed. So there's one marigold seed right there. So we grew a lot of zinnias this summer, a lot of different colors. Saving seed from this one has been fun because we're really just saving the colors that we want to produce again next year. We really liked these yellow ones just because they're so tall and they make great cut flowers. So again, you're going to want to look for a dried seed head with a brown stem. That's going to mean the seed is done and ready to be planted. So you'll just cut that flower off. And again, we're going to try to open it to the center. So all of those little hairy things, those are all seeds. It's a lot of zinnia seed right there. So this sunflower has obviously been done for a while now. It's been an eyesore in our garden, but we've let it stay because we wanted to harvest it for sunflower seeds, and I think it's about ready now. So if you just look at the sunflower, you can see it does kind of look like the sunflower seeds you buy at the store. You can twist one off. I just kind of judge it by does it look like the seed from the store or not. Also, you'll want to test like the hardness or the firmness of it. I usually do this by biting it. And if it crunches, it's ready. You can open it. And it's got a beautiful and delicious little seed inside. So I think this sunflower is finally ready for harvest. It took it about a month or so to be ready, but so this is Euphoria marginada, or snow on the mountain. This is a native flower or plant to Oklahoma. It's related to poinsettias. So all of these white that you see, it's actually leaves, it's not flowers. So the leaves turn into kind of this white border right here. It's really pretty. And it makes a great cut flower to put in a vase. So when the seed of these is ready to harvest, if you look closely, you'll kind of see these little green balls. Green ones are still fairly young. Those ones probably aren't ready to harvest. But if you look at this more mature one right here, you can see it even came open to release that seed. So this one is ready. So I'll just pull it off. And you can either open it yourself. Sometimes it's already open. And there's a good seed right there. Here's another one that's turning brown. So I would say that one's also ready. But again, you just open it up and the seed is inside of there. Something that's also helpful when collecting seed is to kind of just look at the ground around the seed that you want to collect. Sometimes you'll find some good and viable seed down there. So as you can see, there's a lot of euphorbia debris down here. But there's also a lot of good seed. And you can see where some of these seed pods have come open, but like there's one right there. I think we briefly mentioned tobacco in our episode at the butterfly farm, but these tobacco plants are full of seed pods. So again, when it's dry and brown, not green like this one, that means it's ready. And if you just open it up, tobacco I love because one seed pod has so many seeds inside. Thousands and thousands of tiny seeds in that one seed pod. When people come to visit our garden and they're interested in growing tobacco, we usually just pull off one of these seed pods and give it to them. So underneath our Euphoria, you'll see we have a lot of Snapdragons. These are actually a cool season flower, so I've been collecting seed from these so that we can plant them again in the spring. The way Snapdragons flower is they flower kind of stacked on top of one another. But as you can see, again, it's brown and it's dry. That seed pod is probably ready to go. Snapdragon also has really, really tiny flowers, kind of like the tobacco. So if you open up, you can see all of those seeds inside. Thousands and thousands of seeds. Here's our little res dog. He lives on campus. So this bed was planted by our agroecology class during the summer. We were trying to demonstrate companion planting them and just showing them how to grow a bunch of different crops in one space. So as you can see in the middle, they grew corn, they grew amaranth and basil on the outer edges, and then there's just random crops in the middle like beans and tobacco, gourds, things like that. So we have New Mexico pinto beans growing out here. Whenever you're harvesting beans for seed, not to eat but for seed, it's important to let the bean pod dry while it's on the plant. So you can see this is like four different stages of the bean pod drying right now. So you can see like this fresh stage, it's kind of starting to dry and get mature down here at the end. It's turning purple. This one still has a lot of green in the middle, but purple on the edges. This one's more of like a brightish red purple, and this one is a lot drier. You can just tell in the consistency, but also it's a really, really dark shade of purple. So the darker the purple, the more ready it is to harvest. And then whenever it's brown, that means the seed is definitely ready to harvest. Also, if you bend it and it just cracks and crunches, that also means it's ready to harvest. You can see this one here opened on its own because it was just so dry and ready, and the beans are falling out onto the ground. So like I would pull this one off and just save the whole pod for seed, or if you want to, you can open it and pull all the beans out and save them. Also with pinto beans, typically we dry these and eat them, rehydrate them to eat them. So this is actually a good time to harvest these beans to eat as well. If you don't want to eat them as like fresh green beans and you want to eat them as a dried pinto bean, this is when you would harvest, when that bean pod is brown and dry and crispy. Good seeds. So once you have your seed collected, it's very, very, very important to correctly label your seed and also to write the year of when you collected it. So as you can see, these are Cosmos seeds that I collected. These are those orange Cosmos that we saw earlier, and then I just wrote 2024. That way you know how viable they are, how old they are. We have some seeds that have been donated to us that are like 20 plus years old and weren't stored properly, so they're probably not viable. So that's just important to know if you plan on giving your seed away. So once you have all your seed collected and packaged, for summer crops, you want to store them in the fridge. So you want to try to mimic nature as much as possible. Summer crops grow in the warm season. So as the soil starts to warm up in nature, those summer crop seeds will start germinating. So it's important to keep your summer crops in the fridge for storage. That cold air is going to cause your seeds to go dormant and to kind of hold on to all their energy until they warm up again. Once they start to feel warm temperatures next year, they're going to know that it's time for them to grow and germinate. So we store all of our seeds in the fridge. Not really super organized, but as you can see, we have all of our summer crops in here, all of our cover crops. It's just a good place to keep your seeds so that way they're dormant and they're not too warm and ready to germinate. So this is our Three Sisters garden on campus. It's kind of like our secret getaway. It's in a secluded area, not really near the rest of the buildings. So this summer we grew a big Three Sisters garden out here, corn, bean, and squash. We did cucumbers because we ran out of squash, which we've since harvested, so that's why you don't really see much out here right now. Right now we're just doing a little sorghum run just to, try it out and see if we can do it. But yeah, this is our Three Sisters garden. So I think every summer we're just gonna try to grow a bigger and a bigger Three Sisters crop out here. And I think every year we'll get even better and better. So this is freshly harvested sorghum. You can see it got chopped off the plant. Whenever it gets this like red, beautiful red, it's also kind of dry and crispy too when you touch it. That's how you can tell that sorghum seed is ready. So each one of these little circles is a seed. Sorghum seed is also very resilient and very strong. You can literally just kind of take the seed off of this and just throw it out in the field and the sorghum is going to come up. It kind of likes to be abused and thrown in fertile soils, you could say. So we're out here with DJ Sanders. He's a student here at the College of the Muscogee Nation, and he's also my garden work study, so he works out in the garden with me. He does a lot of good things here at the college, and we're just going to talk about sorghum. So we planted some sorghum out here at our Three Sisters garden. DJ's just going to kind of tell us about the significance of sorghum in Seminole culture and some of its uses and why this is such an amazing plant.
It's Jay, don't go. My name's Daniel Sanders, I'm Seminole, Beaver Clan, and today I'm going to talk to you about sorghum. Originating in Africa, sorghum has been grown and cultivated for thousands of years. It has several different uses, commonly used to feed livestock, but you can also make bread and porridge from it. But my personal favorite is sorghum syrup. To make sorghum syrup, you harvest the stalk, you squeeze the juice out, boil and cook it, process it, and it's syrup. If you've never tried it, my go-to snack is sorghum syrup on top of a nice-looking piece of hot fry bread. It's believed that the Seminoles started growing sorghum in the 18th century after they traded agricultural practices with escaped slaves who would later become known as the Black Seminoles, or also by trading with European settlers that would have also grown sorghum in the southeast United States. Sorghum is a drought-tolerant crop that can survive in poor soil conditions, which would have been highly beneficial to the Seminoles as they were moved deeper into Florida or after resettlement in Oklahoma, which both locations have a different climate and different soil conditions than in the ancestral homelands of the Muscogee, which would make sorghum the perfect crop for the Seminoles to grow to adapt to new environments. The capital of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, Wewoka, a Muscogee word meaning barking water, holds their annual sorghum festival every fourth Saturday in Wewoka, Oklahoma. It has live music, food, many vendors, and it's open to the public and everybody is welcome to attend. I see sorghum as a symbol of resiliency to the Seminole people, a symbol of survival, adaptation, and resistance. Whether you call yourself an Oklahoma Seminole, a Florida Seminole, Independent Seminole, Black Seminole, Mvskoke or Muscogee, we must realize that we are the unconquerable.
Mado for watching today's episode of the gardening series. If you're interested in gardening and want to ask some questions or just come visit our garden, we're open to the public every Thursday from 11 to 12. Also, if you're interested in obtaining any of our seeds, one of the goals of CMN Extension is to actually start a seed bank or a seed program where we provide seeds of either culturally significant crops or even just food crops to Muscogee citizens. This is with the goal of getting you guys connected to culturally significant crops, but also trying to end food deserts and just get some more food sovereignty, grow our own foods, grow our own medicines, and in turn get it more in touch with the culture, but also just be healthier.